at a Northside repair shop has some people worried about their cars. What concerned customers need to know.
And right now, Governor Greg Abbott is getting ready to hold a press conference updating us on the damage left behind by Tropical Storm Hannah. We will bring you that live update.
And another round of some downpours today. It'll be hit or miss. That'll be the case tomorrow, too. And even some rain chances this weekend. We'll detail it all for you coming up.
Live from KSAT 12, the news at noon starts right now.
The manager of a Northside car repair shop keeping his fingers crossed that he will be able to reopen soon.
The shop on West Avenue near Blanco Road was damaged by a fire that broke out late last night.
Katrina Weber shows us how the location of the business played a role in preventing an even worse situation.
Thick smoke that greeted firefighters in the 11,800 block of West Avenue is also what caught a passerby's attention to the fire around 10 last night. The CarX was closed at the time, so firefighters had to force their way in.
It looked very alarming. My parking lot was full of smoke and fire trucks at the time.
While they were working, fleet manager Phil Urbina was sleeping. He didn't see his missed calls until very early this morning. His alarm turned to relief, though, once he realized only one car had burned.
However, there's a lot of water and smoke right now, and that seems to be the worst of the problem.
Crews worked all night trying to fix it all. Urbina says given the fact that there was gasoline and oil inside the shop, there was a potential for even bigger problems. Thankfully, firefighters were able to contain the fire to the area where it started. While the locked doors may have slowed them down, firefighters had no problems getting here. They were here almost immediately because the fire station is right across the street.
We do have a large business here, and I'd like to let our customers know that as soon as possible, hoping today yet, we will be going.
He says if all checks out with the fire marshal, they should be back in business soon. In the meantime, Urbina says any concerned customers are welcome to call or visit to check on their vehicles. Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
This afternoon, a fallen Houston firefighter will be honored after he passed away here in San Antonio due to COVID-19. Leroy Lucio was a 29-year veteran of the Houston Fire Department. He was receiving treatment in San Antonio when he died last week. A visitation and rosary service for Lucio took place yesterday, and today a memorial service will take place at Community Bible Church.
Now to the latest on the coronavirus crisis in our area. Less people are now being hospitalized. However, cases are still on the rise here in Barr County. 1,073 people in the hospital, 431 people are in the intensive care unit, and 294 are on ventilators. So far, we still have 11% of staffed hospital beds available in our community. Here's a look at the latest number of cases of coronavirus. Another 355 new COVID-19 cases were added to the latest report for Barr County for a total of 36,438. Mayor Ron Nirenberg says 1 in 5 people are between 20 and 29 years old. No new deaths were reported yesterday, which leaves the total of deaths at 323.
New this noon, a biotech production facility in College Station could be manufacturing a COVID-19 vaccine as early as next year. The Texas A&M University Systems Center for Innovation and Advanced Development and Manufacturing has been tapped to mass manufacture a vaccine candidate that is still undergoing testing. It's part of a $265 million contract with the federal government. The vaccine is one of 6 candidates the federal government has put billions of dollars behind as part of its Operation Warp Speed. Well, more states are starting to close areas they previously reopened as coronavirus cases and deaths continue to surge. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump is criticizing his own experts and guidelines from his administration on Twitter. ABC's Trevor Halt tells us more.
As COVID-19 hospitalizations continue to rise in at least 40 states and death tolls increase in 28, Dr. Deborah Birx warns several areas need to start reversing parts of their reopenings.
We can see what is happening in the South moving north. We do believe that there are states that do need to close their bars.
St. Louis is now limiting crowds to 50 people and closing bars early, and Kentucky is going even further, closing bars outright for 2 weeks.
This is going to hurt a lot of restaurants, but the White House's modeling shows that this is absolutely necessary to control the spread at this time.
President Trump, wearing a mask while touring a vaccine production plant in North Carolina, continues to push for states to reopen.
I really do believe a lot of the governors should be opening up states that they're not opening. And we'll see what happens with them.
Then overnight, the president retweeting multiple tweets and a video questioning the effectiveness of masks and touting the drug hydroxychloroquine as a cure, which the FDA has cautioned against using to treat COVID-19. One video then removed from the platform for violating Twitter's COVID-19 misinformation policy. The president also retweeted multiple criticisms of his own infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, some saying he misled the American public. Dr. Fauci, during an exclusive interview with Good Morning America, addressing that claim.
You know, George, I don't know how to address that. I'm just going to certainly continue doing my job.
To the charge you've been misleading the American public?
I have not been misleading the American public under any circumstances.
And just days after drug company Moderna moved into phase 3 of clinical trials for a potential vaccine, pharmaceutical company Pfizer says it's moving into the final stages as well. And if their vaccine is successful and approved, they say their goal is to have 100 million doses available by the end of the year. Trevor Ault, ABC News, New York.
A man facing capital murder charges after police say he and another man shot and killed a woman earlier this month. According to an arrest report, the suspect says he did it because he believed the woman played a role in his sister's overdose. Police tell us 30-year-old Rogelio Sanchez is charged in the death of 37-year-old Cristiana de la Cruz. The arrest report says back on July 5th, Sanchez and another man forced De La Cruz and 2 other people into their vehicle just east of downtown. Police say they drove the victims to a secluded area where one of the suspects shot De La Cruz in the back of the head. The report adds that the suspects then took the other 2 victims to another area and tried to kill them, but the gun malfunctioned. Right now, investigators have not identified the second suspect in the case. Still to come this half hour, the Spurs have more of a chance to tune things up before they play for real. We'll talk about that coming up.
A business in our community wants to help healthcare workers on the front lines of the coronavirus pandemic. What they're offering, that's coming up after the break. Welcome back.
Pickleball. It is a fast-growing sport around the country.
There's even a new location to play right here in San Antonio. It's called Chicken and Pickle.
As Max Massey shows us, the business that started just as the pandemic hit us, now working to help the medical professionals on the front lines.
It's a mixture between volleyball and tennis rules on a tennis court, like life-size ping pong.
Pickleball isn't new, but it is becoming more and more popular, especially during this pandemic.
More than 12 feet away from your opponent, so it's perfect for the COVID times.
And it's a sport anyone can join in on.
So it's very easy to play, very non-aggressive, so it serves to all demographics. You can let it bounce just like it does in tennis.
Chicken and Pickle opened just a few months ago, just as our community started feeling the impact of COVID-19. Not an ideal time to start any business.
Here by UTSA, we would have a great, huge turnout almost every day with not just the college demographic, but with the elderly, the city, the community, even the youth. We're by high schools.
Pickleball can be really exhilarating, and it's super fun. And the business model here at Chicken and Pickle is meant for people to have fun. But this is about so much more than just fun and games and money. It's about helping the community during this tough time.
We've already donated over 3,000 free meals to essential workers. I just got finished being notified that we have another over 2,000 coming to the University Hospital again for this month.
And as fun and as interactive as pickleball is, helping out is the main mission here.
We're trying to definitely get the community involved here and give back as much as we can, because that's our number one thing.
Max Massey, KSAT 12 News.
All right, get outside with live cam. I'm not sure from now till 4, 5, 6 o'clock would be a good time to be playing pickleball outdoors.
It's a little warm. Don't be fooled by the clouds out there, right, Justin?
No, it's hot. 91 degrees. It's going to feel like we're above 100 again this afternoon. Hey, we're used to that by now, right? The heat stays with us, but we got, pretty much. We got some rain chances, though, in the forecast. The aquifer stays steady. It says 656.6. And in your pollen count, mold's way up there, 2,930, maybe causing you some issues there at home. We're going to talk about the heat, but also some potential development in the Atlantic. Once again, we'll have the latest coming up.
Before we get to weather, we want to get you down to Corpus Christi. Governor Greg Abbott is taking a look at the damage left behind by the tropical storm Hannah.
Let's go to that conference for the latest on relief and recovery efforts.
County or Kleberg County, which is always the top priority. And when you saw the magnitude of the winds coming in and the rise in the tide, it's amazing that no one did lose their life. I do want to point out something, however, and that is that there was a moment in time when some lives could have been lost. That was reported and documented here in local press as well as national press about the efforts made by our emergency first responders to go into water to rescue people whose lives were compromised. And I want to recognize them here now publicly for stepping up and being a part of what's called Texas Task Force 1. They're the people coming in right now. Texas Task Force 1 is a special operation that supports the state of Texas in rescue missions involved in using the skills and training they have to make sure they can help rescue people whose lives are on the line. They include from Washington County EMS, Kevin Deramus, Parker Price, Arturo Marrero, Michael Oberman, Hellman, Sean Klein, Ryan Swore, Josh Parsons. From the Dallas Fire Rescue, Charlie Abney, and from the Fort Worth Fire Department, James Chastain and Tyler Mashburn. You all give a big round of gratitude for these first responders stepping up and saving lives. They are one of the reasons why there were no deaths during this hurricane. I did get a briefing concerning the damage and destruction that occurred in Nueces and Kleberg counties. Obviously, as everybody knows, they know the damage to the Bob Hall Pier, the damage to the aquarium, as well as some damage, although not as extensive, in the art museum. Obviously, beach erosion and some street erosion took place. In the aftermath of a hurricane, one of the most important things that is to be done rapidly is the debris removal process. We talked about ways in which we can accelerate that, make sure that that is going to be able to begin to get done as quickly as possible. Fortunately, most of the power is now back on. There are still some people without power. For those without power, I want them to know that there are people working as we speak right now to make sure that power will be on as quickly as possible. Many people will be getting their power turned back on today, those who are still without it. Others, it may be a few more days, but it's happening very rapidly. Also very important is, from my understanding, there is no one from either Nueces or Kleberg counties who are in shelters at this time. That's important in general because it shows in a way that no one has lost the ability to have a shelter. It's important for another reason that I'll come to momentarily, and that is during a time of having a hurricane, while also in the midst of a infectious disease pandemic, people gathering in shelters is a particular compromised situation. So it's good that no one is in a shelter because that means that is one location less where the transmission of COVID-19 could be taking place. With regard to Kleberg County in particular, I was informed of some of the challenges they face also with their pier, with their beach, with other aspects. And I want them to know, we didn't have a chance to go into this, but with us here today is Tony Robinson. Tony, why don't you raise your hand? Tony is the regional administrator for FEMA. He is going to be the new best friend for all of your local leaders because he is the person with the checkbook who's going to be able to assist financially with a lot of the damage that have taken place. One thing that he and Nim Kidd and I were talking about on the way into this conference room right now was the importance of making sure that Tony Robinson and that Nim Kidd will be able to get financial economic damages to any physical structure that was damaged as a result of the hurricane. The sooner that number can be received by FEMA, the sooner reimbursements can be forthcoming, which we know need to be done as swiftly as possible. Then the last thing I'll mention is the fact that it was so important that everybody in this region, whether they be your local leaders or whether they be the local residents, It was so incredibly important that everybody respond to this hurricane in a way that minimized both the loss of life and the potential illness that could have occurred because of the spread of COVID-19. People need to understand, very importantly, just because a hurricane has swept through here does not mean that it has swept out COVID-19. COVID-19 is still here. It is not going away. Until there are medicines capable of treating it, there's only one thing that we can do to contain the spread of COVID-19, and it's the best practices that include things like wearing these face masks, hand sanitizing, keeping your distance from others. We all want to get back to business as quickly as possible. The best way to return to business is by everyone following the best safe practices to ensure everyone does their part to reduce the spread. One thing very important in that regard is some people think, well, as long as they're with family members, it's okay. And that is proven to be an erroneous presumption because there have been so many family gatherings taking place in so many regions across the state of Texas that have led to spreading events for COVID-19. Just because you may be in a gathering of family members does not mean that you will not be spreading COVID-19. Hence, it's very important for everyone to do everything they can to reduce the size of gatherings for the time being until we do have medicines capable of treating COVID-19. That said, I got good news from both the county judges of Nueces and Kleberg County saying that they are back up and running with regard to the robust testing that's been taking place in both of the counties. We have been tracking constantly, daily, all of the numbers and metrics as you see them in this particular region. And there is good news here as well as good news in some other regions in the state of Texas, and that is an appearance of a stabilization of the number of people testing positive. That is happening because of one very important reason. And that's because so many people in this region, they have become aware of the dangers of COVID-19, and they've been acting in safer ways and acting in ways that reduce the transmission of COVID-19. If we are going to see the COVID-19 numbers continue to decline, it will be essential that everybody in these counties make sure they continue to maintain these safe practices. Just because the numbers are going down does not mean that you can let down your guard. If you let down your guard, it will lead to an increase in the spread of COVID-19. To assist the local counties in making sure that they will be able to continue to contain the spread of COVID-19, I'm working with Chief Nim Kidd of the Texas Division of Emergency Management to continue to surge both testing supplies as well as medical personnel to this region to make sure that the COVID and healthcare needs of the region will be met. That being said, I'm honored to be here. Who am I going to next? Judge Canales.
Thank you.
Once again, you've been listening to Governor
Abbott.
Greg Abbott give us an update on how Texas is helping those folks along the coast and the damage that they received during Hurricane Hannah that happened over the weekend. Of course, they're talking about Corpus Christi and Nueces County and several counties down there and some of the damage that they received. They know that FEMA is on scene and they've got some funds to help those people start recovering from that damage.
Said fortunately there was not any deaths and the damage in Kleberg and Nueces County was minimal with some beach erosion, some piers falling apart. Later today he'll be traveling to the Rio Grande Valley to assess the damage there, but you can head to KSAT.com for that continuing coverage.
Yeah, he also gave us an update on COVID-19 here in Texas, reminding people that just because a hurricane swept through doesn't mean COVID-19 has swept through as well. We're still dealing with COVID-19. So once again, social distancing and wearing the mask. He said the numbers are dropping here in Texas, but we still have to be very vigilant. And we'll have more we have a crew down there in Corpus, by the way, so we'll have more for you on the recovery efforts down there and the damage estimates down there on the coast coming up today at 5 and again at 6. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. We are in the thick of it, the thick of summer heat. Big question we always get around here is when are our hottest temperatures? They typically happen, if you're looking at average highs, in early August. So we're still not to the peak of what we consider our hottest part of the year yet. We're almost there. We average about 96 this time of year, and we're going to be a little bit above average, I think, today. By the way, once we get into late August, those temperatures do start to come down. That's when we may start to see some frontal boundaries. Hopefully that's how 2020 will play out. As we look at the satellite picture, we've got some activity down in the Gulf. That is not tropical in nature, though. Good news there. We do have a system, though, that we're watching out in the Atlantic, and this is now being watched by the Hurricane Center, and they're calling it potential tropical cyclone number 9. What does that mean? Well, that means they think it's going to become a tropical storm here very quickly. And in fact, they've already put a track on this thing. Winds are at 40 miles per hour, but it's still a little bit disorganized. It should move towards Puerto Rico, we think, by Thursday as a tropical storm. May interact with land. That could weaken it a little bit. But if it stays out over water, we could see this become a hurricane. There's a lot of unknowns here, so we have to kind of take this. We can't look at this too closely, this track. But we do think that it'll move eventually maybe toward Florida. And that would be by the weekend. So a lot of things to watch here. But we do know this will stay east of Texas. And likely we will not see any effects from this. We are seeing some showers, though, along the Texas coast. Some lightning being detected, Victoria down to Beeville. Some of this will work further inland as we get into the afternoon. Some of these outflow boundaries may make it to some of our southeastern counties, places like Forestville, Pleasanton, even San Antonio. We have an outside chance for a downpour a little bit later today. And this activity here looking pretty robust, but it's just not moving much. It's just sort of drifting off to the north and west. Beeville, you may get a good shower here over the next 30 minutes or so. Let's go and take a look at the forecast, and the computer models hint at that idea. Isolated stuff through about 4 or 5 o'clock, and then once we lose the daytime heating, everything goes away. Tomorrow, very similar setup, not much changes. By about 3 o'clock, we've got more showers and a couple thunderstorms developing. Here's a look at the big picture, and you can see the cloud cover here over San Antonio. Partly cloudy skies out to the west, and then that activity along the coast. There is more showers and storms out in the Gulf of Mexico, and then you got some activity up here around Dallas. Some of this may put down some outflow boundaries that can move in our direction and may help to kick off some showers and storms later this afternoon, too. That'll be something to watch. A little area of low pressure also along the coast. So there are a lot of things at play here, but still our rain chances just aren't that great. Partly cloudy, 91 degrees right now. Dew point is at 70, so that means our heat index is all the way up to 97. Temperatures right around 90 in a lot of spots, but 86 a little cooler there. Bernie Stage, 87 right now in Hondo. You're checking in at 90 in Kennedy and 90 right now in Gonzales. Heat index values already above or close to 100 in many cases. We'll see that heat index jump up above 100 probably here in San Antonio, New Braunfels, Hondo, Uvalde, Carrizo Springs, all places where we could see that humidity factor in and make it feel all that much worse. 97 degrees today, 20% chance of rain. We'll go 20% chance tomorrow. 97 Thursday, 99 Friday. Those are probably dry days. We've upped the rain chances a little bit on Saturday. Good news there. Looks like we'll see a boundary working in, and that may help us with our rain chances early on the weekend. Guys.
So you say there's a chance.
There is a chance.
That's all we can ask for is a chance.
All right, thank you, Justin. Well, contact tracing is an important tool to help stop the spread of COVID-19. However, new studies suggest two things are standing in the way of it being most effective. Details, that's next in our next half hour. Welcome back. It's 12:32. For the first time in its year and a half as the nation's top law enforcement official, Attorney General William Barr is testifying on Capitol Hill.
This after being recently accused of political favoritism and interference in his handling of big cases linked to confidants of President Trump. And today, Democrats are demanding answers from him.
ABC's Rena Rory shares the latest after the hearing was delayed due to the chairman of Judiciary Committee was involved in a car accident.
Attorney General William Barr in the hot seat today. Democrats on Capitol Hill planning to grill the nation's top law enforcement official, accusing him of politicizing the Justice Department, saying his actions have benefited President Trump and his re-election campaign.
In your time at the department, you have aided and abetted the worst failings of the president.
The attorney general has consistently denied those allegations, claiming the president has not influenced his decisions.
On the contrary, he has told me from the start that he expects me to exercise my independent judgment to make whatever call I think is right, and that is precisely what I've done.
Earlier this year, he faced criticism for his unusual decision to drop the criminal case against former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, despite Flynn already pleading guilty twice. The judge in Flynn's case even hiring outside counsel to review the Justice Department's reasoning. Barr also took heat for reducing the original sentence recommendation from career prosecutors for longtime Trump ally and former campaign advisor Roger Stone. Stone was sentenced to 40 months, but has since had his sentence commuted by the president. Barr has also faced scrutiny over his role in sending federal agents to cities across the country where mass protests have been going on. Republicans on the committee have defended Barr.
I want to thank you for defending law enforcement, for pointing out what a crazy idea this defund the police policy, whatever you want to call it, is, and standing up for the rule of law.
Barr hasn't appeared before any congressional committee since last May when he testified to a Senate panel on his handling of the Mueller report. He then refused to appear before the House and was held in contempt of Congress. Rena Roy, ABC News, Washington.
Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard has fired a missile from a helicopter targeting a mock-up aircraft carrier in the Strait of Hormuz. The drill appears to be aimed at threatening the U.S. amid tensions between Tehran and Washington. The replica resembles the Nimitz-class carriers the U.S. Navy routinely sails into the Persian Gulf from the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, the mayors of 6 U.S. cities are appealing to Congress to make it illegal for the government to deploy militarized agents to cities that don't want them. This comes as a top official said federal militarized agent officers would remain in Portland until the attacks on the U.S. courthouse cease. The agents repeatedly fired tear gas, flashbangs, and pepper balls at protesters.
Police in Germany searching a garden area today as part of the investigation into the possible murder and disappearance of the British girl Madeleine McCann. McCann was last seen back in 2007 while in Portugal with her family. She was 3 years old at the time of her disappearance. The suspect was identified last month and remains in German custody. A Netflix documentary about McCann's story was also made in March of last year.
Take a look outside with live cam. It's 91 degrees, and like Justin is saying, don't let the clouds fool you. It is hot, and Justin, you're clicking away over there.
Yeah, trying to get some of these graphics built about some tropical weather we got going on out in the Atlantic. So the thing's heating up there. Obviously, we just had Hannah. We may get another storm here soon. We're also looking at those temperatures. Very hot out there in a lot of spots. As you go west, it gets even hotter. So places like Phoenix already at 101 this afternoon. They're under that summer heat high. Thankfully, it hasn't ventured back to the east much, so it's not sitting over us. It does have some influence, but it's not right over top of us where we get those extreme temperatures like we did earlier this summer. Right now, 91 here in San Antonio. And because it's not over us, it still gives us the chance, to get a few showers and storms, and we're seeing that here along the coast, Beeville, Victoria, up towards the Houston area. Seeing these showers and storms slowly drift to the north and west. If we can get some outflow boundaries to work a little bit further inland, we may see a little bit of activity today around San Antonio, although our chances are not that great. Temperature-wise, 91 New Braunfels, 87 Randolph, 87 Canyon Lake. We're at 91 in Comfort. A little more sun as you get up there. And the forecast for today does take us up to 97. Of course, it will feel warmer than that, probably up above 100 when you factor in the humidity. There are also more rain chances, I think, as we get into the weekend. It's looking a little bit better. We're going to talk about that forecast here in just a few minutes. Guys.
Thank you, Justin. Contact tracing is considered the gold standard for fighting the coronavirus pandemic. It requires testing of all people who may be infected, isolating those who are, and then tracking down the others who may have been exposed to a person infected. But a new study suggests quick COVID testing and quick reporting of those results are a crucial key to making this tool work. The researchers say app-based contact tracing methods were more effective.
Only through that contact tracing can you actually help beat the virus back.
Researchers say this technology could keep the virus from rapidly spreading, even with a delay in testing of not more than 2 days, as long as 80% of people exposed are tested and had their contacts traced.
Well, we're in the middle of COVID-19 pandemic with social distancing recommendations still in place. Many people have been exercising outside and turning to running. Whether you're a first-time or experienced runner, there may be questions about how to do it without getting hurt. ABC's Andrew Dimbert has some tips.
With the summer heat and many gyms still closed, you may be turning to running as your primary source of exercise. Hitting the pavement can prevent obesity and chronic disease. It can also improve your mind. A recent article in the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons points out there's a 25% to 36% chance of injury, but there's no evidence running increases your risk of osteoarthritis if your joints are otherwise normal. Experts from the Cleveland Clinic offer these tips to minimize your chances of running injury. First, make sure you have the proper running shoes, snug at the heel with wiggle room around the toes. Replace your shoes ideally every 6 months if you're running regularly. When you run, keep your body loose by adding flexibility exercises into your routine. Use yoga to improve flexibility and balance along with strength training to increase muscle tone and bone density. Rest is critical. Taking time to recover will help minimize injury and fatigue. If you're a first-time runner, gradually building your strength and endurance. Start with shorter runs and increase distance over the course of multiple weeks. And lastly, if you have any concerns, consider speaking with an orthopedic surgeon. With this Medical Minute, I'm Andrew Dimbert.
Well, one of the biggest music festivals is still happening this year. How Lollapalooza plans to make it all happen, that's in your Spotlight News.
And are you ready to head back to the movies? Coming up after the break, we'll tell you which cinema chain is planning to reopen some of its locations and when.
Hello, everyone. This is your daily tech and business briefing from Cheddar. Have some extra coins lying around? Well, now you can exchange them for free chicken. This as the nation grapples with a coin shortage. A Chick-fil-A in Virginia is now offering free food vouchers to customers who exchange $10 in coins for $10 in bills. And the special will run between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. today. The innovative move comes after the Mint, which manufactures the country's coin supply, had announced last week that customers should start spending their coins all to combat a nationwide shortage. Meanwhile, Planet Fitness announced that their members and visitors will now be required to wear a face mask inside their club, regardless of state mandates. The rule will take effect August the 1st. The chain, which has over 2,000 locations across the country, says they've worked to enhance cleaning policies and procedures, but they want to employ additional methods to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. And amid an emergency shortage of convalescent plasma, the American Red Cross now offering an incentive for people to donate blood. The organization offering a $5 Amazon gift card to blood donors who have antibodies and have recovered from COVID-19. Those who donate by August the 31st will also be entered in for a chance to win a trip to Cedar Point or Knott's Berry Farm. And that's your Cheddar Business and Tech Update. I'm Victor Machado, coming to you from Cheddar Studios in Lower Manhattan.
And also in your consumer news, the nation's second largest cinema chain plans to reopen some of its locations next month. Regal Cinemas announced it will reopen on August 21st. The company says theaters that open their doors will enforce health and safety measures, including requiring its employees and customers to wear masks. The theater chain has not said which locations will start operating again in August. And Oprah Winfrey is launching a new program on Apple TV Plus. The new series is called The Oprah Conversation. It will feature conversations and interviews between Oprah and a range of leaders, artists, and influencers. It starts on Apple TV Plus this Thursday, July 30th.
And Lollapalooza Music Festival is happening virtually this year. Lolla 2020 will air on YouTube July 30th to August 2nd. There will be more than 150 performances, including new sets from Her, Carnage, and Alice in Wonderland. There's also recorded performances from previous years, including those from Metallica, Run the Jewels, Lorde, and Chance the Rapper.
Carnage has always been an interesting name for a group.
I have no clue who they are.
Neither, but the name of Carnage. Do you know who they are, Justin?
No.
Justin's pretty
Have you ever heard of them?
No. But now I'm going to Google.
Okay.
Find out. 91 degrees so far today. 78 was the low this morning. The average is 96. Will probably be above average again today. July's been a hot month for us. Record is 103. That was set back in 1995. No rainfall. We're not expecting a whole lot today, but maybe some improvement in the rainfall chances this weekend. We'll talk about it when we come back.
All right, so we answered the question about the band Carnage.
It is a Swedish death metal band.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
It's really not my taste. It's more of Justin Horn.
But I mean, if you're working out or something or running, sometimes that stuff can
get you motivated.
Yeah.
Not a good time to run right now, though.
No. I mean, you can, but drink lots of water and be really safe because those temperatures are starting to jump up here. 91 degrees. Humidity is way up there. Humidity is not going to come down much. Let's take a look at the month of July. Climatology-wise, we're averaging 99.9 degrees, basically 100 throughout the month of July. There have been 2 days in which we've been below average, and that was the 25th and 26th. And that is when we saw some of the effects from Hurricane Hannah. But we were above average yesterday. We should probably be above average today. So this has just been a hot month, as we mentioned earlier. We've had 14 days at 100 or above, and we're expecting to see those temperatures to stay pretty close to the triple digits as we finish it out. Here's a look at the water vapor. One reason we're not seeing the extreme temperatures is because our big ridge of high pressure that likes to develop in the summer is out west over parts of Arizona and Nevada and California. We're still seeing some influence from it, but the heat isn't just extreme, as I mentioned. And we have a little area of low pressure here along the Texas coast. It's helping to create showers and storms out in the Gulf of Mexico, but we're sort of on the wrong side of it. A lot of times you can get some sinking air or drier air on the backside of these low pressure systems. Still, it's creating a little bit of lift, and some of these showers that we're seeing along the coast may work their way towards San Antonio a little bit later. Quite a bit of activity up across North Texas, too, and some of this is trying to sink south, so we'll see if that makes it maybe down towards the Austin area a little bit later today. But I think we'll keep our eye on what's going on here along the Gulf. And you can see some of the showers and storms. We are picking up on some lightning strikes, too. Beeville over to Victoria, and in fact, looks like some of those storms now trying to move into the city of Beeville, but they are slowly drifting. Not moving very fast. Satellite pictures shows we do have some activity out in the Gulf, as I mentioned, but right now that's not tropical in nature. What is tropical in nature is what's going on out in the Atlantic. This is a system we've been watching for several days. It's still pretty stretched out, doesn't look terribly organized, but winds are at 40 miles per hour, and the Hurricane Center thinks this is likely going to become a tropical storm. Right now, again, winds are at 40 miles per hour. It's moving west at about 23 miles per hour. Latest track that the Hurricane Center has put on this takes it near Puerto Rico and then maybe Dominican Republic, and that would be by Thursday, winds increasing potentially to 60 miles per hour. Although I'd say, because we still don't have a good center of circulation here, there's a lot of questions with this track still. This is just a general idea. And then eventually, potentially moving towards the Bahamas and Florida. That would be later this weekend. So something to watch. But I think it's going to stay east of Texas, and we'll likely not see any effects from this system. Okay, outside, time lapse shows that we did get some clear skies this morning, and then clouds built in, actually. We've got partly cloudy skies right now. 91 degrees, dew point is at 70. That is not the heat index. The heat index is actually at 97. With a southerly wind at about 9 miles per hour. You can see some of those clouds building in. We'll see some off and on clouds today. Temperatures generally right around 90 at this hour, starting to go above that mark in Gonzales and Kennedy. And you can see some of the clouds down there associated with some of those storms. The heat index already up above 100 or close to it in Pleasanton. I think a lot of spots will see heat indices, no surprise here, at 100 or above this afternoon. So our forecast calls for 93 by 2 o'clock, 95, 6 o'clock. Somewhere in between there, we'll hit our high temperature of 97, 20% chance of rain, 20% chance tomorrow. And I raised the rain chances a little bit on Saturday, 30%. It's a little better. I think it's starting to look encouraging Saturday afternoon. If we can get a boundary down here, we'll keep you posted there. We'll be right back.
Hey, the San Antonio Spurs are going to open up their 2019-2020 season this Friday when they face the Sacramento Kings at 7 o'clock. Before they start playing for real, they've got another shot at trying to figure things out when they scrimmage against Indiana today at 3. That gives them another opportunity to see that new starting lineup. That means teaming up Derek White with DeJounte Murray in the backcourt and starting Lonnie Walker, the fourth, as well. And that has left Bryn Forbes, who started for the last year and a half, coming off the bench. So he's got a little work to do, a little proving to do in his last 8 games. So that's one question. Might see Patty Mills, might not. We'll have to wait and see this afternoon. But here's a look at the schedule. So today it's at 3 o'clock. That's the last scrimmage. And then the regular season tips off again Friday. They take on Sacramento in Orlando at 7 o'clock. And then Sunday they take on Memphis. Remember, they were 4 games behind Memphis. Ooh. when this ended. So that's a big game for them against the Memphis Grizzlies if they're going to make up some ground and get into the playoffs over this next 8 games.
8 games is a lot to win.
Yeah, they got to do good. So speaking of doing good, I don't know, did Mike take like a towel out there to dry the sweat off? Out there. What about the owner?
Hey, this is Dusty. Meet him. He's the new guy. Welcome to the show, Dusty. Oh, I missed.
Dusty!
Inexpensive things you can do outside and have fun in the hot summertime. This is a blast. Hey, and we're going to be enjoying some leisure time, of course, in the backyard with Adina Anderson. She is going to turn backyard into a resort. Oh, darn it. Missed. And
we get stylish with a local boutique that adds San Antonio flair to their clothes, meant for all shapes and sizes.
Plus, we talk to the deal guy himself and find out that we could be saving money on a certain item that we are all using. Oh, it's magic. Do you believe in magic? He's a magic. I'm sorry. Anyway, hey, we're going out to Morgan's Wonderland because it is an Inclusion Tuesday, and we're going to see some really cool magic tricks as well.
And we want to know which you prefer, pools or beaches?
Interesting.
Beaches or pools?
Or water balloon.
Had to pick. Or water gun.
That one didn't break.
You know? Dusty,
Darn it.
pools or beaches, Dusty? Let us know at SA Live,
Oh, they're not
on Facebook
breaking.
and Twitter, and we'll air some of your answers during the show. Pools or
Don't
beaches,
get me.
Dusty?